tomorrow a full committee hearing on cybersecurity. And this comes within our purview on this committee. And I mean, not trying to be dramatic about it, when the internet was invented, everybody fell flat in their face. They were so thrilled. And the world began to do business in a different way. Now, both the President Bush's Director of National Intelligence, Mike McConnell, who I greatly respect, and President Obama's Director of National Intelligence, Admiral Blair, who I greatly respect, have labeled cybersecurity perpetrated through the internet as the #1 national hazard of attack on the homeland in West Virginia, in West Virginia, America, or anywhere else. So, I mean, it really almost makes you ask the question, would it have been better if we never invented the internet and had to use paper and pencil or whatever? And that's a stupid thing to say, but it has genuine consequence, because it's on the internet that these acts of shutting down, you know, they have the television saying that, ads every day saying that the Department of Defense is attacked 3 million times a day, and it's true. Everybody is attacked. Anybody can do it. People say, well, it's China and Russia, but there could be, you know, some kid in Latvia doing the same thing. I mean, it's an individual act. It doesn't require a sleeper cell. It doesn't require any, you know, ammonia or explosives. It's just an act. And yet it's an act which can shut this country down. Shut down its electricity system, its banking system, shut down really anything that we have to offer. It is an awesome problem. On the Intelligence Committee, we were taken for a full day to discuss, to a undisclosed place in Virginia to discuss this. It is a fearsome, awesome problem, so to speak. I mean, obviously it's broader than that too. I wonder where this stands with you, what your thoughts are, and what you think we ought to be doing about it.
Senator,
Right now, big banking, software, pharmaceutical and tobacco corporations are lobbying governments from 12 countries to negotiate the dirtiest deal you've never heard of. There's a reason you haven't heard of the TPP, or Trans-Pacific Partnership. There are some major corporations and government officials that don't want you to know what's in the deal. For one, our food safety standards, environmental protections and local labour laws could all be threatened under the TPP. We could all be forced to pay significantly more for the medicines we need. And you could be fined or even sent to jail for downloading copyrighted content on the internet. How will they know if you do it? Because your internet service providers could be required to watch your online activity. But that's not even the scariest part. The TPP could give corporations the power to sue our government in secret foreign tribunals over any law or regulation they claim affects their expected future profits. Don't believe it? It's already happening. Because of an investment agreement between Hong Kong and Australia, Philip Morris Tobacco Company is currently suing the Australian government for billions of dollars over its plain packaging legislation. If Australia signs on to the TPP, examples like this could become commonplace, as it may allow foreign corporations around the world to sue the government over a change to any law, including laws that provide cheap access to medicines or protect farmland from coal seam gas mining. This not only undermines our sovereignty, it also exposes taxpayer dollars to expensive lawsuits. Thankfully, not everyone is willing to sign on the dotted line just yet. In fact, most government officials still have no idea what we're even signing on to, for good reason. In the US, Democrats and Republicans are uniting to oppose a fast-tracking of the TPP, demanding open debates and negotiations instead, despite a powerful corporate lobby that wants their deal signed before the public has a chance to realise what's at stake. It's our job to make sure our elected officials unite in the same way by standing up to overseas corporate interests and looking out for what's best for Australians. Here's the deal. Without a strong public outcry, politicians will only hear the concerns of multinational corporations. And once the TPP is signed, it's here forever. There's no expiration date, and it's almost impossible for governments to withdraw. This dirty deal has been deliberately branded as a free trade agreement. It's anything but free for people like you and me, and it's not really about trade. It could cost us our internet freedom, labour rights, access to affordable medicine, the safety of our food, and protections that keep our water and air clean. Nobody wants to be stuck with a backroom deal we don't want and never voted for. Find out more, speak up and spread the word.
Mr. Trump, can I ask you about the US has just concluded an international trade agreement with 11 countries in the Pacific. You've said that you'd rather have no deal than sign the one that's on the table.
The horrible
but most
deal.
economists, that trade has boosted growth, and every single post-war president has supported the expansion of international trade, including the last 3 Republican presidents. Why would you reverse more than 50 years of US trade policy?
The TPP is a horrible deal. It is a deal that is going to lead to nothing but trouble. It's a deal that was designed for China to come in, as they always do, through the back door and totally take advantage of everyone. It's 5,600 pages long, so complex that nobody's read it. It's like Obamacare. Nobody ever read it. They passed it. Nobody read it. And look at the mess we have right now, and it will be repealed. But this is one of the worst trade deals, and I would, rather not have it. With all of these countries and all of the bad ones getting advantage and taking advantage of what the good ones would normally get, I'd rather make individual deals with individual countries. We will do much better. We lose a fortune on trade. The United States loses with everybody. We're losing now over $500 billion.
An orderly decline of the dollar is actually desirable. A decline in the value of the dollar is necessary. So there would be a slow decline in the value of the dollar, a managed decline. And that would be the adjustment that it needs to be accomplished. It is not necessarily in our interest to have the dollar as the sole a decline in the value of the dollar is necessary. This would be the time, because you really need to bring China into the creation of a new world order, financial world order.
As China is becoming a world leader, it must learn to pay more attention to the opinion of the rest of the world. Hopefully, the Chinese leadership will rise to the occasion.
Of Germans chant nationalist slogans.
What they're chanting now is traitors of the people, referring to the leaders of Germany who are allowing all these refugees in.
Germany has just registered its 1 millionth refugee, and these people want to send them home. This continent is at a boiling point. While the debate over Muslim refugees rages in America, we're traveling across Europe, where the far right is turning angry rhetoric.
The reality is that the next terrorist attack in Europe will be by Muslims.
Into reality.
We want Sweden to stay Swedish.
Fueled by a seemingly endless river of refugees, as well as by the ISIS attacks in Paris.
At least one attack posing as a refugee.
Ultra-conservative, anti-immigrant parties are on the rise. Caught in the crosshairs, the migrants.
That's a BNP symbol. That's a National Front symbol. Why are you letting him put it out?
I cannot believe that's out on the streets of Croydon. How dare you hold a banner like that up? You're shameful.
Follow your leader! Follow your leader!
My solution to the Calais problem is to repatriate all the immigrants that are here and say no more can come. And I would take all these traitors, all these do-gooding liberals who want them all to come, all these politicians, all these mass media, all these bankers, and I would march them into the Channel Tunnel, and I would blow the Channel Tunnel up. That's my solution. You're all a bunch of Zionists! See that? See that? See that?
Ben Bradshaw. With the United Kingdom facing our most momentous decision for a generation in 8 weeks' time, does the Prime Minister think it makes more sense for us to listen to all of our closest friends and allies around the world, or to a combination of French fascists, Nigel Farage and Vladimir Putin?
Well, I'm glad he takes the the English pronunciation of Farage rather than the rather poncy foreign-sounding one that he seems to prefer. I think that's a thoroughly good thing. Look, obviously, I think we should listen to our friends and our allies. And as I look around the world, it's hard to find the leader of a country that wishes us well, that wants us to do anything other than stay inside a reformed European Union. Tom, too. Well, what it is saying that if we vote to leave the European Union and leave the single market, that will have economic consequences. Now, of course, there are the experts, the Governor of the Bank of England, the IMF, the Institute of Fiscal Studies, all saying our economy would be smaller, and so therefore we'd have less money to spend on public services. But I also...
Steve and Benedict are typical of the many young Londoners who believe Brexit can only be bad for their future.
The Governor of the Bank of England has told British MPs that breaking away from the EU could cause financial instability. The UK will vote in June on whether to stay or leave the EU. Governor Mark Carney said the Bank of England is preparing to pump cash into the economy if it becomes necessary.
Well, Donald Trump has just landed by helicopter in Aberdeen, Scotland, amid the fallout from the Brexit vote. Most polls predicted Britain would stay in the European Union. All the smart people thought it would. But Trump and our next guest, and a few of us, had it right.
And I'm told that on the morning of the vote to leave was down in the polls, substantially down in the polls, and yet you pulled off a remarkable victory. Is that accurate? You were down in the polls the morning of the vote?
The morning of the vote was quite remarkable. There was an opinion poll issued by what was a reputable polling company showing the Remain side 10 points in the lead. And I genuinely think that what went on at the end of that campaign was a deliberate media and establishment attempt to say to voters, look, Brexit isn't going to win, so why bother to go out to vote for it? And what I was saying to Trump supporters last night is whatever gets said in the next 73 days in this campaign, even if they tell you that McDonnell can't win, don't believe them, because what we saw was a deliberate attempt to fiddle the figures. Luckily, we ignored it and we beat them.
Now, President...
As such, I think the country requires fresh leadership to take it in this direction. I will do everything I can as Prime Minister to steady the ship over the coming weeks and months. But I do not think it would be right for me to try to be the captain that steers our country to its next destination. This is not a decision I've taken lightly.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism. We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism.
Why would you reverse more than 50 years of U.S. trade policy?
The TPP is a horrible deal. It is a deal that is going to lead to nothing but trouble.
Very bad thing. Now, she talks tough. She talks really tough against Putin and against Assad. She talks in favor of the rebels. She doesn't even know who the rebels are. You know, every time we take rebels, whether it's in Iraq or anywhere else, we're arming people. And you know what happens? They end up being worse than the people. Look at what she did in Libya with Gaddafi. Gaddafi's out. It's a mess. And by the way, ISIS has a good chunk of their oil. I'm sure you probably have heard that. It was a disaster. Because the fact is, almost everything she's done in foreign policy has been a mistake, and it's been a disaster. But if you look at Russia, just take a look at Russia, and look at what they did this week, where I agree she wasn't there, but possibly she's consulted. We sign a peace treaty. Everyone's all excited. Well, what Russia did with Assad, and by the way, she wants to fight for rebels. There's only one problem. You don't even know who the rebels are.
Mr. Trump,
So
Mr.
what's
Trump,
the
your
purpose?
2 minutes
And one thing
is
I
up.
have to say,
Your 2 minutes
I don't
is
like
up.
Assad at all, but Assad is killing ISIS. Russia is killing ISIS, and Iran is killing ISIS. And those three have now lined up because of our weak foreign policy.
Sound familiar? Donald Trump arriving in Scotland this morning, held a news conference, praised the Brexit decision, compared British nationalism to his own Make America Great mantra. Watch.
People want to take their country back. They want to have independence in a sense. And you see it with Europe, all over Europe. You're going to have more than just, in my opinion, more than just what happened last night. You're going to have, I think, many other cases where they want to take their borders back. They want to take their monetary back. They want to take a lot of things back. They want to be able to have a country again. So I think you're going to have this happen more and more.
Onto the stage, the man behind Brexit, and a man who led brilliantly the United Kingdom Independence Party in this fight and won despite all odds, despite horrible name-calling, despite so many obstacles. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nigel Farage.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, and good evening, Mississippi. I come to you from the United Kingdom with a message of hope and a message of optimism. It's a message that says if the little people, if the real people, if the ordinary decent people are prepared to stand up and fight for what they believe in, we can overcome the big banks. We can overcome the multinationals. And we did it. We made June the 23rd our Independence Day when we smashed the establishment.
raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States. President Obama
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald.
We will face challenges.
There's so much potential.
But we will get the job done.
For beauty and for devastation.